Welcome to the Acuprosper podcast, where we get smart, real, honest, and empowered about creating a thriving acupuncture clinic. I'm Katie Altnew, your host. I'm an acupuncturist, herbalist, and ABORM certified fertility acupuncturist with a clinic in Denver, and I'm the founder of Acuprosper, which is my side passion project where I teach acupuncturists how to start, grow, and market their acupuncture clinics. And I'm the author of the book, Acupuncturists Mean Business. In season 2 of this podcast, it's all about passing the mic to others, specifically to a few of the many acupuncturists out there that I admire and feel inspired by. We are going to get a look inside their journeys, their practices, struggles, mindset, marketing, and more. We're getting real, and we are having some hard and honest conversations about everything from burnout to cultural appropriation. My goal is to show that there are many paths up the mountain, that there's not one singular definition of success or way to get there, and to break down the taboos about discussing business in our healing field and our livelihood. If you'd like to see the video version of this podcast, you can find it on the blog at acuprosper.com. And it is pretty cool to see these acupuncturists' faces light up as they talk about their practices and their passion. Thank you for being here and for making this a safe space to share and explore these journeys and ideas. I hope it shows us what's possible and helps us to feel connected and supported. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hey guys, I'm so excited for today's podcast guest. I have Chelsea Batters. She is a licensed acupuncturist here in Denver, Colorado. She is the acupuncturist behind Healing Vibes Acupuncture. And she was a student of mine many years ago, back at CSTCM in the business class. And she has done so well creating a thriving, busy practice here in Denver, which is a pretty saturated market. And she also has a little one who's 2.5 years. And it has an interesting story where she is moving soon to out of state, and she is going to keep her practice running here. So we can talk to her about all of those things. Chelsea, thank you so much for being here today with us. I'm so excited to connect with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited. Looking forward to it.
Yay! So tell us a little bit about how you started your practice and what it was like growing it and what your practice is like now.
Yeah.
As a journey.
Yes. So I've been in practice for 6 years, and I started it pretty much right away out of school. So 6 years ago. And I opened it up in Denver this is our second location we're in now. So the first location, we actually moved into a spot where there was a prior acupuncturist who was actually moving out. So we kind of moved into her space. It was like a 2-bedroom space. I was kind of like, I'm open. And then it was obviously really slow. I think maybe the first couple of weeks I had maybe 2 patients, that kind of thing. And just slowly grew my practice. And I would say now I see probably around 45 patients a week. And I have 2 acupuncturists working for me as independent contractors. So we're kind of, working as a team together. They're extremely busy. I just hired a second acupuncturist probably about 4 months ago, and she's just a rock star. Like, she's already up to 45 patients a week. So it's been amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
How many rooms are you guys working out of?
So we did just have 2, and now we opened up a third, which is downstairs in the office space. And then we use a 4th one occasionally when the Reiki practitioner is not in there. Mm-hmm. So usually it'll just be me in there in the upstairs 2 rooms, and then Courtney, who's the other acupuncturist, is really busy. And she will kind of float when I'm not in, because it's hard for both of us to be there at the same time when we're so busy. Yeah. So yeah, it's going
good. Like take days and work both rooms.
I usually right now I have 3 days a week, and then she's kind of going up to more like 4 days a week. Mm-hmm. And then the other acupuncturist is super comfortable with just seeing 1 patient an hour, so she'll be in the 3rd downstairs room if either me or Courtney are in upstairs.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so it works out really well. It's going great. I feel like at the beginning, probably the first 4 years, I would say I had to kind of put a lot of effort in every week, almost every day, to get patients, to come back, to get new patients, thinking that kind of thing. And I almost feel like now I don't have to do that much. And there's just, we get a lot of new patient calls from Google searches, from health insurance. That's a really big one. Referrals, word of mouth, that kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. So, I mean, and that is a huge part of what I love to teach is like how to get it set up so that it's running on autopilot. So you don't have to keep putting all that effort in and show up to like networking events or do stuff. And how great that that's what you created. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do take interest. You are in network with insurance companies.
We are, yeah. And I feel like the first year I probably was in network. So I've been in practice 6 years, probably within the first year I was in network. But it took about a year after that until we started really seeing like a flow of patients referred from the insurance companies. And now it's very busy. So I don't know if they have some sort of, I think they have like a catalog of, providers that patients can see. Maybe they send that out, but I feel like as time goes on, we get more and more from the insurance companies. So
Nice.
yeah. And I learned a lot about SEO. Like a lot of stuff that I've learned is from you, from AcuProsper, from the business course at CSTCM, like that. All that stuff helped me so much with SEO, Google marketing, making my website better, all that good stuff. So thanks.
You were not just a student of mine at CSTCM, but you did the AcuProsper marketing training and course,
which was like golden. I loved it.
Awesome. I'm so glad. Yeah. And that's probably one of the biggest things, right? Is tweaking your website so that people see it and want to work with you, and then getting it high on search results.
Yes, I think that is the biggest and the easiest for me personally as far as marketing, because I don't really like to do a lot of outreach. I'm like pretty introverted, and so the fact that I can just make my website better so that people can find me was really resonated and was easy for me to do that.
Good. I know. I'm all about that too. I don't want to I teach marketing, and I think the philosophy and psychology of it is fun, but I don't actually want to spend my time doing it. You want to turn on autopilot.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's dive into that. Did you create you created your website yourself, or did you hire someone?
No, I hired someone who was amazing, and we have done it twice now. So we kind of revamped it and probably 2 years ago. And I'm almost thinking about doing it kind of a whole overview revamp again, maybe, because I feel like things change and adding some more things to that kind of thing.
Yeah, but you worked closely together so that you could design the content, and you go in and do the back end tweaking for SEO.
I do, and when I was pregnant with my son, and I was doing a lot of working from home stuff, I was really good at doing a new blog every week, that kind of thing, and tweaking at SEO. But right now, we have found that adding a pop-up on the front page is actually super helpful. I feel like Google maybe outweighs that more than the other stuff. I'm not sure, but I feel like we do a pop-up and it doesn't even, we found that people don't respond to deals or 20% off or that kind of thing, but they respond to information, really good information. So we'll make a pop-up specifically for back pain or B12 injections. And then that is huge. And then we go into Google Analytics and see that back pain searches or B12 shot searches were huge for people going to our website.
Oh, interesting. So that's what makes you think that Google is really doing that. Interesting.
I think, at least that's what we've seen so far. And it's almost like we do the pop-up, we keep it up for a few weeks, and then we see that overflow within 2 weeks later.
Yeah. And so let's just back up for people who are following along. SEO stands for search engine optimization. And it's it's the changes. What I think is cool about your story that I really want people to know is that I think it can feel really overwhelming for people to try to get to page 1 of that Google search for Denver acupuncture. but you did it yourself. It's like the tweaks that we make on the back end of our own website help Google to show you, to feature your website like higher in those search results. And so that's the changes that you made on your website to show up higher when people search for you.
Yeah, and I didn't know any of that stuff before, and I was like, it was so overwhelming to me because I was like, what is SEO? So I'm glad that you outlined what that was, because it's like I didn't know any of that stuff, and it seemed so scary at first. But just like anything else, you keep at it and you get better at it. And I think over time too, even every time a patient schedules on your website online, that increases your SEO because people are clicking on it. So then over time, it just gets easier because more people are clicking on your website.
Coming back and clicking.
Coming back. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So having online scheduling really does help your SEO because Google can see that people they're looking at people's behavior on your website and whether they're like staying and clicking around. So
okay.
Yeah, it felt, so you were saying it felt overwhelming, which I think is so common for acupuncturists. And then in the Acuprosper course, I break it down into like 10 steps, right? And you just had to do those 10 things. And then the one thing you had to keep doing for a while was blogging. It sounds like you did. That was your strategy that you chose to blog continually. But what I heard from you is you did it while you were on maternity leave, but you aren't as good now at like doing it every week. But you don't have to stay good at it. That was the same story for me. I like did it for 2 years and now I never blog.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to be consistent for some time and then you don't have to keep going with it. Right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what. Yeah.
Yeah. What I think is good for people to hear because it can feel overwhelming and like, you're like, oh, if I have to do something every week, that sounds hard. It's not forever. Yeah.
No. Yeah. It gets easier. Definitely.
Yeah. So I love your story because it makes it just really drives home that it's doable, and a lot of people are hiring out SEO people for like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And I think often that can be a waste of money because what's most important is actually what's on the back end of your own website and like the blogging that you do for a little bit of time. Right.
Yeah, and like the personalization behind it of, I think, us actually writing it, because we have so much knowledge of this medicine, and if we hire out, you can just tell it's not the content doesn't seem real,
Correct. And it's not just the knowledge of our medicine, but also how intimately we know our patients too.
Yeah.
And that can show in the website if you write it yourself. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I love that story. Thank you. And so the pop-up advice was interesting. Instead of doing deals, which can feel like kind of salesy, just doing like on, you're saying just offer more like value in the form of information.
Yeah.
And that gets people excited.
Yeah. And I think like first coming out of school and first getting into practice, like I was treating patients for close to nothing as far as money. And it was really hard for me to ask for money. And that part was awkward for me. And as time went on, like changing my mindset about making money and the value of the medicine and myself and all that, I've gone a long ways with that. But at first it was hard. And, I even realized like when I give people discounts now, those patients are the ones that end up being a little more difficult, like with time management or, keeping their appointments, that kind of thing. So.
Absolutely. I had the same experience. It's hard at first and then it gets easier.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, like we are providing an amazing service and medicine to people. And also I think once you have associates and you it feels good, right, to provide a livelihood to other acupuncturists to help provide them business. And you want them to be it's not just yourself anymore. You see how you want them to be compensated for their amazing skills and care.
And
I think that's easier.
Oh, absolutely. And also the profession as a whole, it's so hard not hard, but it's more challenging for us to graduate and then start a practice. And so I think having more places where more acupuncturists can work either while they're building their practice or if that's, what people prefer to just do is great. I think there needs to be more of that.
Absolutely. It's so great to provide that employment opportunity for people.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you went about hiring associates, finding them?
Yeah. So I went through Indeed and did a job posting, and I went that way. And actually, so the first acupuncturist, Leslie, she still works with me, and we've worked together for probably, I think, 2.5 years. And then Courtney, who I spoke about earlier, who was just hired about 4 months ago, I believe. She was actually used to be a patient of mine, which was pretty cool. Like, so she responded to the Indeed, and I was just like, okay, I'm sold, because we had a relationship already. So
absolutely. That's huge. All my associates were previous students of mine, so I knew them, and that does make it easier. Yeah.
That's great.
Because I think finding the right fit is probably the hardest part. And then when you brought them in, did you do a lot of training with them, or what was that onboarding like for you?
Yeah, so I, that was a learning process too, because I feel like I didn't do a lot of training at first and didn't even do like a contract or that kind of thing at first, and then realized how important that is to do the training, because, I want to make sure that we're on the same page, and that if we do share patients, that it kind of feels similar. And the process is just easier when systems are in place and they know about that. So I did a little more training with Courtney, and I think that was beneficial.
Yeah. That's something I learned along the way too.
Oh yeah.
That like training, is a big piece, and you got to do it sooner rather than later. It's awkward once they're already working to be like, let me show you how to do this.
Yes. And I found myself doing that, and then I almost like don't even want to do it because I'm like, it's been too long. And I wish I would have just put it all out on the table at first. That way there's no questions or discussions about it later.
I think that's good advice. And so did having associates allow you to take a maternity leave?
It did, yeah. Yeah, easily with the maternity leave, and my plan of moving to Omaha, Nebraska next week, where I'm from, is huge with associates. And my main struggle right now is just trying to put more systems in place and trying to just let it free flow without me having to always respond to text messages or do these things manually, which is kind of getting a little bit overwhelming at this point.
Yeah, so that's huge. So you're moving to Omaha next week. That's big, and that's where you're from. I didn't realize that. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I have so much family there, and I just want to be there for my son to have that support. It'll be good.
Totally, that's awesome. And so you are going to keep your business here in Denver, even though you'll be living somewhere else, and you are going to have your associates working for you to see patients, and you're just going to be kind of running it from afar, but you're trying to create systems so that you can be actually as hands-off as possible, and it can run itself pretty smoothly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's huge, because and I think it's interesting to think about for all of us, because in some ways, until we have created, like, it's a big goal as business owners to, even if we are in the same location, right, to try to make it as hands-off as possible and run smoothly, so we can focus on doing what we love, treating patients, right?
Yeah.
And in some ways, a lot of us, like when I was first starting, I was like, I haven't really started a business. I've created a job for myself, right? And it was like just me, and I had to be there in order for the business to run. I was like, I've mostly just created a job. I'm like self-employed, just created a job for myself. Yeah. How good does it feel when it runs without you needing to be there? And then you've created a real full-on business, which is so awesome, and will also make it probably easier for you to sell if you ever wanted to sell it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't figure out if I want, so like we've had like an office manager, but she was also my son's nanny. She kind of did both of that. And so I'm just getting like, checklists in place for her so she can go to the office and she can help the other acupuncturists. But there's still things that that I'm like worried about that once I leave, that just won't get done or won't happen, and maybe part of that is like letting go a little bit of control, but I also just need to make sure that these systems are in place. Like this gets done on this day, and this day, but right now I don't know how long those things take to get done or when they were getting done because we just do it when I'm there. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I feel that too. That you just do, and I felt that on maternity leave. You realize when you're not there, like all the little things you do that you don't realize that you do.
Yeah, the little things. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like restocking, making sure there's enough needles and moxa.
Yeah.
And just seeing that is So you have a front desk person or an office manager. She's not really reception, but she's an office manager doing back end stuff.
Yeah, and she does a lot of the cleaning, like switching tape, switching the sheets in the rooms and that kind of thing, but not every time. So she does a lot of like when I get insurance checks in the mail, she'll deposit the checks and assign to each practitioner and put that in billing. And then she'll do calls, like if I'm like, okay, can you call and send this invoice out or that kind of thing. But we, myself and the other two acupuncturists, we usually check each patient out ourselves and schedule them and that kind of thing. So she does a lot of cleaning, I would say too, which is really helpful because it just gets to be a huge mess after you see 20 patients in a row all day. And the last thing that we want to do is like stay for another hour and clean.
Right.
Yeah.
So she helps you guys stay organized.
Yes.
And will she stay on board?
She will, yeah. But she is, she got another job that she's going to be adding more hours to. So her hours are going to go down. So that's where I'm trying to figure out, should I hire somebody else? Like maybe an acupuncture student? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's maybe interesting for listeners to hear like the parts that are great to outsource. And it sounds like your experience is you don't really need a receptionist to check people in and out because our online scheduling actually like sends those intake forms out in advance. And it's kind of nice for the practitioner, I think, to reschedule people because you're like making your dosage recommendation, right? Like, I need to see you next week. Let's get you in. But what's nice is for all the other like back end things like hiring out linens, a cleaning service, a biller, like an insurance biller. Do you have your own biller or do you do it yourself?
No, yeah, we have a biller. We do have a laundry company too, but it's been really expensive. Like one bag, I think one bag is like $30. And I mean, we go through maybe like 8 to 9 of these bags a week. And so we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we make this better? Because I'm bringing laundry home and doing it like all of the time here.
I know that was my life till like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I finally got a linen service and not dragging laundry home anymore.
It's so much.
I mean, the dream would be to get a washer and dryer in your clinic. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, not be constantly doing laundry and have your office manager do that,
And we actually did, but it was weird because my office is in like an old house that was made into a business. We had a laundry there, but it was actually, there was no vent going out and it was such a fire hazard.
Oh, wow.
And we had somebody come quote us, how much money would it be to build a vent or to put in and install a vent for it for ventilation. And it was like $6,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, never mind.
Yeah, never mind. We'll just, okay.
Yeah. So you're hiring it out and also doing some laundry yourself.
Yes, doing a little bit of both to kind of save money. But I would really like to, I mean, when I'm gone, I won't be able to do it. So I'll just have to bite the bullet and just hire out laundry all the time.
Yeah. My laundry person, like, I gave him a key and he comes in and collects it and puts it all back in each room, folded in its place. And I love how hands off.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Who do you go through?
They're called Image First. They used to be Hamilton Linen and now they're called Image First.
Oh, cool. Okay. Awesome. That's amazing.
Because then you don't have to be there, right? And you don't have to ask. Because I know as a someone who also has associates, I feel actually super hesitant to ask my associates to do stuff like that. Like, I don't want them to have to do any cleaning. I don't want them to have to do any extra stuff. I want them to come in and like treat patients and do what they love and not have to deal with all the extra stuff, even like taking out the trash. But like, I think we maybe just have to get better at asking them to do some of those things.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't like them to do any of that. And I like feel bad, but I guess maybe just occasionally is okay, taking one trash bag out a week or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even if you had to like pay them a little more to compensate them for their time or extra work.
Okay.
I don't know. Something if they're going to fill in some cracks while you're gone, I don't know.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Something to think about.
Don't be afraid to ask. I think don't be afraid to ask them. They're probably happy to.
Okay. Yeah. So many things.
I know, right? Yeah. So you have like a list. You're probably writing a list of all those little things that like you've got to delegate to.
Yeah. Yep. And so my plan at first is to actually travel back here every other week for the first 2 months.
Oh, wow.
A flight is only 40 minutes from Omaha, so it's a really short flight. But I feel like I might not be able to do that forever, So at least there'll be like maybe a little bit of a transition period where if things come up, we can just work with them and make them easier as it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great solution. How nice that it's easy for you to travel back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have a receptionist, do you like answer phone calls, call people back? Are you doing that?
I am doing that. And that is another issue that we are working on because we use Google Voice, the system that has your business number. You can go to right to your cell phone, which has been great. And then we use an app called Grasshopper. But a thing that we do is like, I'm really, really personal, like with my patients. And so like we'll text each other back and forth with different patients, like even sometimes at 9 at night, that kind of thing. But now that we're getting so busy, it's like too much.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard for me to say no. When a patient texts me at whatever time it is of the day, I would like to reply to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets to be a lot when you have a lot of patients.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
And your boundaries.
Boundaries. Yeah.
Did you ever have to deal with like feelings of burnout? Like you were doing too much, seeing too many patients? Has that ever been a thing for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Especially right before I hired Courtney. I was like getting up to like 60, 65 patients a week and just so exhausted when I came home. And I was just like, I cannot keep sprinting like this forever.
Yeah.
And so having her on board has been really helpful for that.
Good.
But I'm feeling the burnout of the back end stuff a little bit now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems like what you do is you just become aware. You were aware of it. And so you hired out for Courtney. Yeah. And now you're trying to create systems in place. So it's like, pay attention, become aware, and like delegate.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it all, right? Yeah.
No, and it's a great problem to have because that means that it's growing and expanding and doing great. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And so what do you think your practitioners, your business's like special sauce is? Why do people love working with you? What keeps people coming back?
I think that, I think we cater to people that just want to come in and get a treatment and leave, like young professionals that are busy and they just need to pop in and get a treatment. We usually do cups on almost everybody and, pop on out, and it doesn't have to be this long 1.5-hour session where we just chat and all that stuff. It's just like, it's easy to fit into their schedule.
Nice. So are your treatments just under an hour, or are they even shorter than that?
So most of my patients that I've been seeing for years walk in the door, and now we do the temperature check and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But they just go right to the room and get on the table. And then I go right in there and I do cups and then I do needles, and they sit there for 30 minutes on the table. And then I go in, within 15 minutes to change the cups. But probably I would say like 40 minutes they're in the office and out.
40 minutes. And so they get right on the table. You don't have them sit in a chair and talk to them first.
No, unless there's a handful of patients that I do that with, like especially maybe fertility, there's a lot more discussion or patients that I know want that kind of interaction. But most of them love to just come in, get on the table and then they leave. And then we even just have them booked out, or they just go online and book out for like 3 months. And then they just have their card on file, and it's like the easiest transaction, you know?
Yeah. I love it. Do you use Jane?
I use AcuSimple.
Cool. Nice.
Which is really great because AcuSimple just is now doing an integration with like Square credit cards and Full Script and all sorts of good stuff. So
nice. Yeah. Jane, I use Jane, and they're doing that too. And it's so nice having having all of that just so streamlined.
It's so nice. It's really helpful. And especially because at our office, we have an esthetician who's upstairs where the 2 acupuncture rooms are. And then in the basement where the other acupuncture room is, there's a Reiki practitioner and sometimes a massage therapist. And if we're all in there and the reception is really tiny, like it's really small area, if, you know, there's a bunch of people waiting, it just gets way too congested. So we just kind of try to make it as easy as possible for people to come in and out. Yeah.
Nice. Especially with COVID. Yeah. That's great.
Absolutely.
So are you just renting rooms to the esthetician and Reiki practitioner? They're not part of your business, your practice?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Subleasing to them. Nice. Yep.
Cool. Brilliant.
Yeah.
To like reduce your overhead. So what do you wish you had known when you were starting?
I kind of wish that I had these systems in place from the beginning, even though, you know, I was slow and I wasn't ready to expand where I am now, obviously. I wish I would have just put those in place like I was extremely busy, so that now when I am so busy, I don't have to figure it out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Getting all those like streamlined things. Because a lot of them aren't more expensive, right? Like the linens are by volume. You know, and like,
true.
Not adding a ton of costs.
So I guess that's the only, that would be a major thing for me. Cause it's like, you know, if I had all those laid out, like maybe if I would have done a 5-year back end plan, 10-year, that kind of thing. And it's almost like I could just look in that folder and be like, okay, I'm at this point and this is what I need to do when I grow that big.
I like that advice. And I think that's good advice, because I think that what I see in the acupuncturists I coach is people want to be busier, but they feel overwhelmed, not with like their number of patients, but with the back end stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
That like is overwhelming and holds them back from wanting to like get busier when they're like, well, I can't keep up. So putting systems in place for that in the beginning can just really help, and also make our job more enjoyable, right?
I find myself sometimes like rushing with patients because I'm like, oh, I didn't write down those insurance claims that I need to follow up with because they didn't pay any money, you know, and so I need to resubmit those because that's on my mind when I'm supposed to be really focused on a patient. And so I would love to just really learn how to separate and time block my time, you know, what I'm focused on.
So that you can be patient with or present with your patients and not like distracted.
Absolutely.
With insurance, there's been a lot of changes with Ash taking over different companies. Have you been staying in network even though Ash is taking over those?
So has Ash taken over Cigna? Is that one?
They took over Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and not yet Cigna and not yet United in Colorado, but I think that they might be about to.
Yeah, I'm thinking about changing because it's like ASH, they don't pay on claims so often, and it is so frustrating. I have a binder like sitting around here that's literally 5 inches because it's like we have to follow up on these claims and they're just like, oh, it was resubmitted, just improperly unpaid kind of thing. And they only even pay $55, you know, and then I pay my biller 10% or $5. So then I pay them $5.50, and then the time it takes, and it's kind of just getting annoying.
And then if you pay your associates, like $25 or $30 per patient or something, then it's like not even worth it to do.
It's starting to not feel worth it for Ash, for sure.
Yeah, I know. I went out of network with them.
You're out of network, you said?
As soon as I got the letter that they were taking over, I was like, I'm out. Like, I can't deal with this. Also, every 6 visits, like medical necessity.
So then are you out of network with Anthem?
Uh-huh.
See, that's the thing. Like we have so many patients from Anthem, like really great patients that we've had great connections with over the years. And so it would be hard for me to say no because of that reason.
Mm-hmm. They might have out of network benefits. If you go,
oh yeah, okay.
If you go look, you might go look at their benefit intake and check on if they have a lot of them might have out of network benefits, and a lot of them weren't actually affected.
Good idea. I love that. Cool.
It gets a little tricky because then Anthem sends them the check instead of you.
Okay.
Just a hassle for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But they still can get covered. And, it's kind of
cool.
I don't know, worth checking. But yeah, ASH is like such bad news, it seems like. Did you suffer from the imposter syndrome as you were growing your practice? To feel self-doubt, insecurity?
Oh, absolutely. And especially at the beginning, and even like doing this podcast, like I think if I would have tried to do this like 6 years ago, I would have been so nervous to be on video or listen to my voice and watch myself on video. And I just have grown so much with the confidence after being in practice. And it just comes with time, I think,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it helps for people to know it's normal. A lot of people, it's common to feel. I don't think everyone feels it, but a lot of people do. And you just move on in spite of it, and it does get easier. Yeah,
it does. You just keep pushing and just keep doing it, and things get easier. Like I hate public speaking, but it's just easier with time. You just got to keep going at it.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love hearing your story because I think it's so relatable. You're so relatable, and you've grown so much and have associates and, this business that's going to run without you. And you're such an inspiration. So thank you.
Well,
Can I ask you a few quick fire questions?
Sure.
What do you have for breakfast?
Today I went to Sassafras and it was absolutely delicious, but I actually have been having which is why I was running like 10 minutes late, because I was having some tummy issues after I ate there. And I don't know if I don't usually eat out or if it was like too greasy or whatever, but usually when I'm at home, I just make eggs every day.
Nice. Love eggs. Warm breakfast.
Cool.
What element do you think you are?
Oh, I think fire.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I like to go, and that's kind of, I find myself needing to be like, okay, slow down, relax, like heart racing, like helps me go kind of thing.
I love that. And who's your TCM hero?
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a good question. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, I always love hearing people's people that they are inspired by that I should go check out. But
yeah, I mean, I'm really inspired by you. I've been very inspired by you. Like you helped me grow so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
And, besides you, like I loved Kaylor. I loved all the instructors at CSTCM. Like their power of knowledge was so helpful for me.
Yeah, the teachers at CSTCM are amazing. I loved Kaylor too.
They're great.
Do you mind quickly? That reminds me, I forgot to ask you. Do you mind just telling people a little bit about what the Prosper Ring, the AcuProsper marketing group coaching was like?
Yeah. So what it was like was, I think it was it 6 months or?
I think it was 4 months. Yeah.
4 months. And it was really easy to follow because everything is outlined and this is exactly what you do this week, next week, this month, last month. You have goals. And, at first it seems like we talked about earlier, first it seems scary, but every step along the way is easy to follow because all the information is in there. I even find myself going back to the folder for the SEO information, which is great. And I loved the videos that you made for the classes. Really easy to follow, listen to. It wasn't boring. Like that you had pretty music on there. Like it was just easy to follow, and it was fun. And it was great to also communicate with other acupuncturists that were going through it. And I think there's like a Facebook group that I sometimes go to even now. And I just learned a whole lot in that 4-month period.
Cool.
Marketing was great. Yeah.
Yeah. I personally love the group coaching and getting to connect, like, and watching the connections that form between acupuncturists and how everyone can support each other. So
yeah, because we all need it. So
yeah. And I love hearing that I love seeing what it's done for you, and like seeing you on page 1 of Google. I just like cheer for you every time I go check it out. It's awesome.
Yay.
Yeah. Really cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I know you're so busy, and yeah, you're such an inspiration, and I can't wait to hear how the move goes for you. Good luck with everything.
I will keep you updated. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Chelsea.
Okay. All right. Have a good day.
I forgot. Will you let people know how they can like connect with you or follow you if they want to?
Oh, absolutely. So I do have an Instagram, Healing Vibes Acu, or also the website. My email is on there. Emailing is great for me. Chelsea@healingvibesacupuncture.com.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Chelsea.
Thanks,
Take
Katie.
care. I hope that as you work to make the world a better place, you also prosper, my friend.